Yeah, we'll talk first. Hey, we're live.
Hey, happy Saturday.
Happy Rosh Hashanah. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Booze Dancing is on. Booze Dancing TV is here.
All right, let's roll the video. Rolling. Welcome to the murder table.
Cheers.
Salud.
Oh, cheers.
Oh, cheers.
Salud.
Sir,
Cheers.
Cheers. Slange, a caipirinha.
Like Martinelli, but as you said, with a kick.
We do a little swirl.
Or zat. Appetizer? Appetizer. That makes me sad, but you know what makes me happy? Whiskey.
Cacao.
It's everything I thought it would be and less smelling.
Hey.
Hola.
Does that ever
How
get
are-
old?
How are we?
I'm okay. I'm doing okay. How are
Saturday-
you?
Saturday. We don't do Saturday afternoon broadcast too often, do we?
No, only when we're dealing with time zones, and we're dealing with big time zones again.
Big time zone. Big time zones.
So
How's life at Casa Booze Dancing?
It's okay. It's boozy. I got a nice little whiskey. I got our, in honor of Rosh Hashanah, we got our milk and honey glass.
Very nice.
And we've got the Kalila inside the milk and honey glass.
And I've got a Single Cask Nation Kleinleash 9 right there.
Excellent.
We are ready for some afternoon libations.
We got some libations. We got some fascinating guests.
Yeah, we have got a interesting story to tell here, I think.
I think so. We are broadcasting. We have friends or new friends from the beautiful Faroe Islands, or what looks like the beautiful Faroe Islands.
And our first question is going to be, where are the Faroe Islands?
Good question. Faroe Islands, a little north of Scotland. I'd say northwest of Scotland and west of Iceland.
Yeah,
In the middle of the North Atlantic.
Yeah, you make a left at Orkney.
Make a left at Orkney. That's right. No Albuquerque in this one.
Nope.
No left turns at Albuquerque. So yes,
the North Atlantic.
so we're talking whiskey. We're talking crowdsourced distillery, where we can get in there, and if you want to be an investor, we're going to learn all about this. We're going to get the whole backstory.
We are. So play it.
Let's play it. Let's just do it.
Yep.
Let's do it. Let's not dilly dally. All right, we're rolling. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome, boys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are welcoming two people from the Faer Isles Distillery in the Faroe Islands, Dánial Hoydal and Bogi Mouritsen, correct? Who are both founding members of the distillery. And Bogi is also the distillery manager, correct?
Yeah, I am.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
Oh,
Thank you very
before we start, happy birthday.
Oh,
Bogi.
happy birthday, Bogi. Cheers.
Happy birthday, boy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Hope it's not too inconvenient.
Thank you for having us.
What time is it in the North Atlantic?
In the middle of the North Atlantic, yeah.
What time is it?
It's 8:30 in the evening
Your time.
on a Saturday, so that's a perfect time to discuss whiskey.
Yeah, I was going to say, that is whiskey time.
Yeah.
It is whiskey time.
So let's maybe start from the beginning. So what's your backstory, both of you, in whiskey? Where did you guys, where were you before this venture? What did you guys do before all this? What was your first entrance into the whiskey world? Talk to us. Let us know.
Well, our interest, should I start, boy? Our interest in whiskey goes many years back, and also together, because we actually founded originally the first whiskey association on the Faroe Islands, the Whiskey Appreciation Society, 12 years ago, I think. And so already then we had plans to make whiskey on the islands, because we had this dream that an idea that the Faroe Islands are perfect for producing and maturing whiskey. And so, yeah, we have been working with different things. I've been working with marketing for many years in different industries. And Boje, how about you?
Yeah, well, I've been in IT for 20 years or something like that. I've been a network security consultant. But back in 2016, I decided that was not for me. So I traded it all in and bought a sailboat. So I sailed around the Mediterranean for a year, thinking what to do next. So I picked up the old dream of being a whiskey distiller. So since 16, I've been working mainly on that project and that dream. So that's that's my story into whiskey.
Are you both from the Faroe Islands, or are you from elsewhere, or you grew up there?
Yep.
Born and raised?
Dan grew up here. I was born and raised in Denmark, and Dánial and I actually met up as choir singers. So we've been singing in a choir together for about 20 years. So we're choir boys.
Yeah, Faroese speaking choir or singing choir. Yeah,
choir boys that always are making the whiskey, right?
There you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but we moved. We've been living abroad for many years, but have both moved back here during the last few years, and so we could material. So this dream could materialize.
So you talked about this whiskey association. Do you mean it was like a whiskey club?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you guys just got together and drank whiskey with your friends, and
yeah.
So
and
is the general taste of the Faroe Islands Scotch, or whiskey from all over the world?
Well, it's
primarily
close to Scotland, so of course a lot of people know Scottish whiskey and appreciate it, especially the male part of the population, I would say. But of course, I mean, the whole idea with the Whiskey Society was also to sort of stimulate the interest for whiskey here, and I think that's really changed a lot. I mean, people are much more aware of whiskey and appreciative about whiskey generally on the island, where 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they bought the same sort of standard blends, and I think also Highland Park was very popular because it's our closest neighbor.
It's only a couple hundred miles away.
It's
or a few hundred.
I don't remember.
Close.
You're the sailor boy, so probably you can answer that.
Yeah, 100 miles. Yeah,
it's a day trip.
Yeah, something like that.
It is.
Is there a lot of whiskey imported, or is it a lot of folks just traveling to Scotland and Ireland because it's so close and you could just go buy it directly?
There is a lot of traveling, and we also have sailboats going there. We have some old restored sailboats that make some trips where they take 10 or 15 people and sail all the way to Scotland and go to visit the distilleries there. But apart from that, we have a direct flight from I think twice a week, 2 or 3 times a week to Edinburgh. So so we have a lot of people going that way for holidays and for doing the whiskey trails and stuff like that.
That's convenient.
Do you have in your cities there? Do you have whiskey shops, or are you having to order online? How do you guys get bottles?
Yeah, by traveling, a lot of people buy it when they're traveling, but and here we have a monopoly. Actually, one of the reasons why we haven't started producing whiskey here until recently is that it was prohibited. Believe it or not, it was the legislation was changed only a few years ago. I think in 2017, where they started allowing the production of spirits. So it's we had some obstacles that are quite special for this place, I think, compared with other nations.
So maybe let's talk about the Faroe Islands themselves. Small group of islands, 50,000 people or approximately, right? So you talk about the community. I mean, it's pretty small, and industry.
I think we looked it up. What was it? 534 square miles.
Yeah, that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
tiny.
So it's not a big landmass.
No.
Yeah. Couple major cities.
Yeah. So it's an island community and a very small one, and in many ways it's a very traditional community where everybody is involved in sheep and fishing in some sort, but at the same time it's also a very modern society where we have all a very high standard of living and have people have good educations and so on. So it's a bit of both.
You mentioned that spirit making wasn't available till recently. What about beer and wine?
Yeah, we have. I also have here a Faer Isles beer, and this brewery started in 1888. So we have quite some tradition for beer making. So that was allowed, but not strong alcohol.
So was there a history of whiskey making going back centuries that was illegal, or has there been no history of distillation?
We don't really have a Scottish Highland to hide out in, so it was a little bit difficult to have that. Of course, there's been some, but not in the same amount as you see in our neighboring countries. So we can't really claim that there's an ancient tradition for making whiskey. But having said that, we have a lot of the same sort of. We have a lot of peat. We had a traditional barley production. We have a lot of the same qualities that Scotland have, and we will claim that we have it even more when it comes to, for instance, the very salty atmosphere that gives the island and Isla whiskey their special character.
So it seems like a really great, almost Isla-like place to make whiskey. So talk about how this all comes together for you and how you kind of design a plan to create a distillery, and what's the mission here of long term?
Yeah, well, it started with actually looking at what are the circumstances surrounding Scotland and their production of whiskey, and comparing it to the Faroe Islands, and we found out that actually we have all the parameters that the Scottish are very proud of in their production. We have the same sort of the climate and the same stuff that they parameters. We have them as well. Only in some cases we have a little bit more than they have, because we're situated in the warm North Atlantic current, which makes the ocean surrounding us relatively warm, and meeting with the cold wind, it makes for a very humid climate. And being so far north that we are, we have the high winds which whip up salt in the air. So our climate is very humid and it's very salt, and that is kind of what the Scots are looking for also when they're maturing their casks. So I think we have a very good climate for maturing whiskey, and that was kind of what got us started in pursuing this dream of making whiskey in the Faroe Islands.
So how do you go about figuring out how to design a distillery, get funding, get obviously governmental approval? How does that happen?
Well, we have some challenges that are quite unique there also, because since there has been very little spirits production, we also the whole legislation around here and the administration of permits and so on is really virgin ground. We have to look into what our neighboring countries are doing. We are part of the Danish kingdom, so a lot of the legislation is very similar to Denmark, and there are actually quite a few whiskey startups in Denmark within the last sort of 10-15 years that we have been networking with and asking them for advice in how to do that. And sometimes we experience that we have to teach the local administration how to manage the yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they have no experience with it. So it's
we don't need forms. Forms are useless.
Yeah.
Less paperwork.
they categorized us as a petrol station in the beginning, because they're handling volatile, spirits
Flammable.
and so on, alcohol. Yeah.
So, Ange, why don't you talk about the crowdsourcing? That's fascinating.
Yeah, so basically what we have done is that, this is not unique for us. That it's also been seen by other whiskey startups, that they have been asking people to join as founding members. And of course, we offer these founding members some benefits, but it's also a way to generate support, and also very early in the process to get some brand ambassadors, you might say. And at the same time, of course, it gives us a little bit of cash flow, because one of the big challenges with whiskey is, of course, that it's huge investments in the beginning, and you have to wait quite a long time before you get the return on those investments. And so that helps a bit. And then the next step is then that these founding members and everybody else basically can join our round of crowdfunding that will be later this year, where we plan to sell around 30% of the company to people. We really hope that it will be a community thing, that regular people will become small shareholders in our company. But of course, everybody is welcome. So if any bigger investors, and we have had some interest there also, then of course they're welcome as well.
Have you found that the your Founders Club membership has mostly been for local people on the island, or all over?
Well, the majority are local people, but not all. We have quite a big amount of people also from everywhere, and I think the reason is probably that we have gotten attention like this one, where we're participating in your blog channel here. And we've had articles and so on that's raised some attention around the world, because it's something different. Everybody's always looking for something new in the whiskey world, and a whiskey from a total new destination with the circumstances and environment that we have here is interesting. So that's great to see.
So you guys have traveled to Scotland. It sounds like you've been to distilleries. Have you thought about the type of distillation methods you want to set up, the type of fermentation? Are you guys that far down the road in terms of planning?
Yes, we are. We have been doing some research, and I've been to Scotland, and I've seen different distilleries, and I also visited 4 sites, and I've been talking to them, and I've also been talking to some other producers of distilling plants. Danny, you want to take over from here?
Yeah. We have had a test set up now for more than a year, almost 2 years, where we have been testing
a small scale still operation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're doing recipe work and sending samples to our nosing. We have a nosing panel of spirit consultants that are helping us out with evaluating the different things, because we are, in addition to whiskey, we are also we're going to produce gin. So also for the recipe making there, we have been using them. So we are quite far in the testing. We haven't purchased the distilling equipment yet, because we're looking into there are quite a few different providers of stills, and we haven't really decided on which one we will go for yet. But we're quite far with that. We have been in contact with many.
Are you going to go like a traditional pot still or column stills, or how?
Pot still?
We're going a bit more modern, maybe with the gin distillation, but we're looking into a few pot still based plants at the moment. So for the whiskey. But I think we might go a little bit more modern on the gin, without going too much into detail, because we haven't really decided, or we haven't decided final which one we're going to choose. So we're still thinking about that.
Daniel, you mentioned earlier that there was barley production on the island, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Do you plan to have all your barley come from Faroes, or are you going to import barley?
Well, of course, in the beginning, we have to have a setup that works. There's no doubt that we are going to experiment with using a lot of the things that are available here, both with the peat and with barley, and so we are investigating a lot there also. But in the beginning, we will have to purchase our finished malt from one of the malteries in Scotland. Just to get started on the right foot, because if there are too many elements of experiment, because the types of barley that is traditionally farmed here on the Faroe Islands do not have the same qualities as some of the barley types that have been, refined in Scotland for so many years. So it will not be what we will use initially, but definitely something we will be experimenting with some special batches, special editions later on.
Is the plan to do your own maltings at some point?
Well, at least in some small, experimental way, because of course that's an entire sort of science in itself, using peat and using there are some facilities that can be used as a malting floor available here, but it's something that is new. We really have to try it out, so it would be too risky to use it for our entire sort of main production, our main sort of
yeah. But it also comes back to the climate again, because the types of barley that we can actually harvest in the Faroe Islands are not very good for whiskey production or spirits production, because we're so far high to the north. We don't have that many sunny hours, and also we have this climate which is very windy and salty, and it's difficult to produce the quality of barley that we need. But we're going to do it anyway, but in smaller batches, so we can do something that's 100% Faroese. And also that leads into the peat. The Faroe Islanders have a very close relationship to peat. Up until the 50s, it was common to heat the houses with peat. So everyone has a story and has some relationship to peat. So we have a lot of peat in the Faroe Islands, and we're planning on doing some small batch with that. We also have a deal with the Scottish kiln or maltery that they can use Faroese peat in their kilns to produce peated malt.
Is the peat on your islands similar to what Highland peat, or is it more like Isla peat, or something in between?
Well, yeah, the thing is, we actually have different types of peat and a lot of different names for peat here, because it depends on does it come from I mean, some of them actually come from seaweed, decomposed seaweed, and some of them come from grass, and some, I mean, on the islands, if you see pictures of the islands now, you can only see grass, because we have so many sheep that basically eat everything. But if you go back in time, you would see trees on the Faroe Islands, more similar to Norway. And you can find some of that in the layers of some of the peat. So there are actually different types of peat on the Faroe Islands.
Interesting. Well, that would be fun to experiment with over time, right?
You could do different series, right?
Exactly.
You could do the seaweed peat series, and you could do
exactly.
Yeah.
There's actually a question from a viewer. Would you like me to put it on the bottom?
Yeah, put it up.
Okay.
How much do you need or hope to collect for the distillery?
I guess what you would need to get the distillery up and running, the total cost.
Is there a minimum for investment shares? Are the original owners getting shares for free? A lot of personal questions.
There are a lot of personal questions.
Yeah.
Confused.
Well, to start with the end, of course, it's not for free from us. I mean, in the sense that we made the initial investment, and if anybody doubts about the personal investments we have made in this during the last years, I think the amount of sweat is a lot at least. And of course, we said, as I said earlier on, we plan to sell 30% of the company, and exactly what the share cost will be, I'm not able to say at the moment. We will do a prospectus that we will put out where people can read about all the details about the cost of shares and so on. But as I said, we really want this to be a community thing. So there will be micro shares where everybody can participate. I mean, it's not huge amounts that you need to invest in order to become a shareholder. That's, I think, is the important message here.
When do you foresee the initial sale?
Yeah, we plan to have it late this year.
Coming up. We are almost late this year.
So there is a timeline on the website, correct? And I think you're saying you're hoping to be open by 2023?
No. I mean, we will start production in the first quarter of next year.
Oh,
but
okay.
But with the investment, the crowdfunding emission, or what you would call it, is starts later this year.
Okay.
But your initial distillations won't be with you won't have your final stills in place by then. That'll be just small production.
No, actually, I mean, the huge investments that we are going to make is basically in the distillery, building the distillery. That'll be the big challenge for us, and that's also why we do it in different steps. We start with the storage, because that's the important thing, and we will do an interim distillery setup that we all start already now with having the equipment in there in the beginning, so we can actually start producing already early next year, even though the distillery has not been built finished. So
the picture on the homepage or on the website, is that the rendering of what the distillery will look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there you can see actually the storage buildings, which is where we will simulate this the old drying houses of the Faroe Islands that have been used for traditional drying of food, especially mutton and fish for centuries. That where you have this huge draft going through from the salty wind. And that is actually the cheapest part of to build, and the first part we will build because they're critical for the whole maturation process. So later on with the production facilities and the visitor center, that will be the last part we will do. So we will get an interim setup now that can produce with more or less the equipment that we will later have in the full setup.
In this picture, is this location the definite location where you're going to be putting the distillery?
Yes.
This place actually exists. This bay.
Yeah. That is spectacular.
Yeah.
So is that a fjord?
We just purchased the land quite recently, so that's it's really huge for us.
Is it far from the main city?
Well,
it's 20 minutes by car.
Yeah. So I'm in the capital, 20 minutes away from Bogi, who lives in this village right next to the distillery.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on the gin side, is the plan to use like local botanicals from the island?
Yeah, we do. Actually, you can explain what that is, Boye. But you asked about seaweed earlier on, and we actually have like a central part of our identity and logo, seaweed, because it will be our signature component in the gin we will make. So maybe, Boye, you can explain about that.
Yes, we've decided to. We have some friends that have a company where they produce seaweed for food, for the food industry, and we've been talking to those people, and they've provided different types of seaweed that we have experimented with, and this is Palmara. I don't know. It's red, actually red seaweed that turns green when you extract on it. So
it's called dulse. If it makes any sense to you, in English, I think the seaweed is called dulse. Palmaria palmata.
Huh? Never heard that.
Palmaria palmata.
Latin.
No, it's red. It's red seaweed, but when you distill it, it becomes green. It's something with chlorophyll or something. I don't know. She's a PhD in those things, and she's
a PhD in seaweed.
I don't know. She is. Yeah. So anyway, she produces this red seaweed and harvests it, and and I've made an extraction using an extractor. So this is 25% alcohol seaweed extract, and it's very strong in the flavor, and both in taste and in smell. So we'll only use a little bit of this in gin, but this is going to be the signature botanical in our gin, and it's really good. Excuse me.
Is there a saltiness that comes through, or?
Yes, it's very maritime. It's if you walk down on the beach and you have this the smell of seaweed. If you drink it straight out of the bottle, it's not nice. It's too intense. So we're down on a half to 1% of this in the gin. That will make it maritime and a little bit saltier.
Oh, nice.
And in addition to that, we use some other botanicals that also are quite common here. The Angelica, which is of course not only used by us but several gin makers, but it's a native plant here, which is quite abundant, and a few others.
I would think that would be a kind of a fun experiment. Is just with all there must be tons of that kind of foliage and botanicals on the island to experiment with and play with.
Yeah. I mean, the challenge is, of course, because it's a very small place, that it's also, you have to respect nature, and it's volatile. That don't overuse But of course, you can take the local plants and grow them also in special gardens to get enough, so to speak, to not interfere with the balance in our local environment here.
Have you been looking yet for a master distiller?
Well, the thing is, I mean, we're quite well equipped in many areas with our nosing team and different. We have an advisory board of really competent people, but we haven't really found the master distiller that we've been in contact with a lot of people. But the challenge is to have somebody who's willing to travel here regularly, and who also has the right sort of attitude to our project, because it is a different project compared with many other whiskey distilleries in Scotland.
Does the island have that problem in general, finding folks to come in whatever industry, whether it's distillation or working in stores or school teachers or doctors, getting people to come to the island which is in the middle of the Atlantic, to come there? Is it a problem?
Well, in some positions, because it's if you need specialists and so on, it's to come here and actually live here. That is a big decision, so to speak, because it's very far from everything.
I remember I went to Islay about 6 years ago, and when I came home, I remember seeing an ad, I think it was on Twitter, that their dentist was retiring and moving to Glasgow, and so they had no dentist. And the dentist,
national crisis,
had one dentist for 3,000 people, and you'd have to go back to Glasgow or someplace to get your teeth cleaned. And tough.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. We have some challenges with doctors and different specialists here also. Yeah, a small community thing.
But actually, but not as much as you would expect. I think we're highly educated.
The educational level is quite high for various people.
Yeah, we don't have that many foreigners filling out the blanks for us anymore. We used to back in the day, but it's getting better. We don't have any master distillers yet.
It's coming. Just put out there. Send your resumes.
Well, I would imagine with the proximity to Edinburgh and how easy it is to get there.
No, I'm quite sure we're going to find somebody, because we are looking for a consulting master distiller. I mean, you don't have to move here for the next 10 years, but somebody who comes regularly. And I mean, we have Bogi, and our production manager is also quite experienced, and they have been experimenting now for almost 2 years. So we have some knowledge here, but we need to have that really, really experienced master distiller who can give that extra, to really refine the product, but also the entire design of our distillery.
How many breweries on the island?
2.
Just 2. Wow.
50,000 people. I think two is quite a lot.
Well, I don't know. My little town here of 150,000 people has like 12 distilleries. So
Yeah, and we've been exploding on the brewery front as well. So
Yeah. I mean, you have a really strong craft brewery tradition in parts of the state, at least.
complete,
Definitely.
yeah. Well, I think in terms of distilleries, we have, I believe it's pre-COVID, 2,000 distilleries in the States. I believe 2,000 maybe craft distilleries. So, that's for 300 million people.
Right. And there's 9,000 breweries, I think, something like that.
That sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah. So but we don't know how many is going to survive past COVID. So how has COVID affected the island and your plans at all?
I won't say it has affected our plans, boy, because I mean, the society not as much. It's a little bit this. I heard a scientist call it a game of whack-a-mole. You have these peaks, and then you have to shut down for a few weeks, and then you open up again. We haven't had those big outbreaks on the islands, and it hasn't affected the economy that much here because luckily our export numbers are still quite stable, and I don't think our project has been that much affected. There are something about deliveries of materials and so on. Maybe you can comment.
I had some traveling. I had to cancel. I was on my way to France and Holland, and that has been cancelled. But it's the business is running still for us.
That's good. It's good to hear that there's some spots in the world that aren't as heavily affected as here in the United States. That's good to hear. So you guys seem pretty passionate about whiskey. What makes it so special to you?
Well, of course, we really like whiskey and have always done that, and that's of course, I think everybody who enjoys it has some place a secret dream to try it out to see if. But for us, it's this perfect match between something that you're really passionate about and then making it a living. I really enjoy getting up in the morning now compared to other periods in life where you were working for your salary, and it's if it's something you like, it's really motivating.
So is this pretty much your full-time project right now for both of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and for Bogi it has been for several years.
Oh, I would suggest the distillery is up and running and you get to walk into that smell every day.
Yep, that's going to feel good.
That'll be the magic, because there's nothing better than walking into a distillery and smelling those smells and tasting the new make and feeling that what you've done is in the glass, and it's just really special that way. But the smell is just the best part.
Yeah.
Well, and the taste. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I have these bottles sitting everywhere, with what is that there with so we're experimenting with so I have these bottles sitting around everywhere. Samples, just tests and stuff like that. So I'm working with that smell pretty much not every day, but almost making whiskey on the small scale. So it's great. I'm looking forward.
But remember to cork that seaweed extract, because it's quite pungent if you forget to.
One question about gin. I have a question just about gin in general. Is there a percentage of juniper for it to be qualified as a gin, or to just have to have juniper?
It just, I believe the rule is it just has to have juniper as the main ingredient. Okay. But I know from our experience that you can very easily put too much in. Right, Bogi? Some of the early samples we sent for our spirits nosing team, they were sort of rejected.
Yeah. They were, but juniper has to be the main ingredient, and for it to be gin, so that's mainly it.
And the juniper is local?
Is it gin? That's a good question. Is the juniper local?
Not the one we have.
We have juniper here on the islands, but not in abundance. So if we were to use the local juniper, we would have to work really, really hard to collect them. So that's not really an option for us now. we could kind of maybe we're speculating in having some people help us
grow it. Yeah,
grow juniper,
because we definitely want to use the local,
at the moment,
local sort.
Absolutely.
Have you guys?
And we're going to make small batches for sure.
What about wood management, barrels? Have you? Where is that looking to be sourced from?
Well, we are so fortunate that on our advisory board we have Alexandre Sacon, a French guy who's he's both a barrel broker but also a barrel developer and does a lot of mix and match for a lot of different distillery. So that's very fortunate that we have a very strong guy on that area in our team.
What are you guys doing for experimentation on barrels? What are you guys doing for? I assume you're trying to age some stuff now, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, we got these. I don't know if you can see them, but we have a little bit of oak cubes in here, and there's different types of oak. This is French oak, and some of it is hard toast, and some of it is medium toast, and we also have some American oaks and stuff like that. So we do small samples like this, but I also have some small barrels sitting out, close to where I am now, with different types of oak. There is some French oak and some Quercus robur and some Quercus sessile, which are French and European oak, and with different toasts that we're testing on with the same new make. So we're doing some testing in that direction.
I saw on the Founder Club it was I think it was €200 to get the sample batches of things. Was there another round of things that you had already sold, or it was just that one batch of things? I thought
this is the first one. I mean, as you know, we are thinking that the Founders Club is this exclusive club of people that join in early to support us and also to get the samples of the first stuff we make, and also get the lifetime membership, and later on can get a rebate on if they want to buy shares. So the second round will be more traditional crowdfunding where everybody who wants to buy a share can do that. But these founding members will then get some benefits in that round.
And you're going to take cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Wow. That's going to be a first.
Yeah. I mean, that's also created some waves, some attention, because whiskey and crypto doesn't really add up in many people's minds. And I can understand that, in the beginning when we started working with that, I also had some, you have a lot of prejudice about this, and it's not just prejudice, because there was a lot of, dodgy things going on in the beginning. So that's why we are very careful of how we put this together, and just to avoid one misconception that has been shared by many, that it's the only way that you can join. That's not correct. It's one of the ways. You can use regular dollars or whatever you want, but it's another way that some can join, and we hope that would open us up for investment from a new crowd that doesn't normally join these kind of community or crowd-funded projects within the spirits environment. Yeah,
I think it's a really good idea. I think it's just another way of paying, right? It's just I think it's great.
Well, just yesterday we were contacted with this German business group that were asking about this because they had cryptocurrency and are looking for investments, and we never heard about it before. So apparently there is interest from a completely new side of the financing world because we allow this.
And just put up the Founders Club membership package.
Now, is that still open for the Founders? Okay.
Until a few weeks more. So if there's anybody out there who wants a piece of that pie, then please. It's also great because it's support, of course, for us. So we're very happy to
so you get a bottle of the gin infused with the seaweed, and your make, and then whiskey when it's available, right?
Yeah. So they get it actually in two different shipments. They get, first quarter of next year, they get the gin and the new make, and then 3 years later, when the whiskey is ready, they get the whiskey bottle as well.
Okay.
Probably. Go ahead, Ange.
Is there a particular style you're I mean, is there a particular whiskey that, let's say, is like the inspiration for what you hope to make when it's out on the market? I mean, is it, an Islay, a Highland whiskey, something from Highland Park? I mean, I don't know.
We've been talking a lot about that, and seeing as peat is so dear and so close to all Faroese, we really need to produce some peated whiskey. So that's going to be one of our that's going to be our core range. Probably a lightly peated version, and we're looking towards other lightly peated whiskeys out there. For instance, Ardmore is a whiskey you could name drop, being lightly peated. If we can strike something similar to them, I think we'd be quite happy with that. But at least lightly peated, yeah.
So I think it would be similar to some of the island region whiskies, that have the maritime style and also a bit of peat.
Talisker,
for instance, yeah.
Or the Cheg, or even like a Highland Park.
Yeah.
Does your friends in the Whiskey Society, is medium peat the kind of world they live in, or heavily peated, or lightly peated? Are you trying to for your friends? I guess maybe that's what I'm asking.
No, we're not. I mean, we've had a lot of different tastings now for the past 12 years, and it's always the heavily peated tastings that gain the biggest traction.
So we like them.
We love it as well. But I think that what we're going for in the style that we're going for is a bit more lightly peated. I'm quite sure we're going to make some special editions later where we experiment with some more peat, especially when we are going to try out the Faroese peat. But as our main product to start with will be more lightly peated.
I think
we approve.
Yeah, we approve. I think it's interesting that you've got a styles of peat on the island that vary, and that alone allows you to experiment with different smoke levels and peating levels that some places don't really do. And especially because you're a startup, you can do these kinds of experiments. You got to find a house style for yourself. But it'll be fun trying to find the house style as well as these kind of experimental things that you can do because of all what's on the island, and make it unique. Make it Faroese. Is that the word? Faroese?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like
it. And the same with the barrels. I mean, that we are going to experiment with putting it on different barrels, and probably the main product will be a mix of some barrels. That's at least Alexander's theory. That you can do a blend of some of the barrels for the product, but that also allows us then to try out how it develops on each barrel to see if some are more successful, that we can make special editions using fewer, more sort of cleaner, so to speak, not single cask or something similar like that.
Yep.
If I may just add a small anecdote, I was talking to an older man here in the Faroe Islands, and he's actually produced 5 books about peat in the Faroe Islands. So there are 2,000 pages here about peat, and we're doing, yeah.
Do you need help with that?
Can you get that on Amazon?
Yeah, can we get the Kindle version?
You have to scroll to page 2017, but it's there.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
But he told me that there are 14 distinct types of peat in the Faroe Islands.
How many?
And he knows 14.
14.
He has classified 14 different types of peat in this monster.
Amazing. So,
yeah.
Is peat?
It's a bestseller on the Faroe Islands. That
is it still used as a fuel source there?
No, I mean, you can probably find some old houses where they use it more as a curiosity, where they use it just to maintain it, but it's not
no commercial industry for it.
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
Also some cottages.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting. So, and it's not illegal to harvest.
No, I'm not sure if there are some. Yeah, it's private property, and some of them are maybe some areas are protected, but not as such. It's not a thing that is prohibited as such.
No. Oh, that's good. So you can get to those 14 times and experiment.
Yeah,
that's great. That's really interesting.
Yeah, but we're not allowed to harvest meat in that way. We need to protect the country as well, and that's also again this protecting nature, being
sustainable,
being honest to nature. Yeah, it needs to be sustainable. So maybe we'll pick up a little bit from private owned lands, but we're not going to do it in a big industrial way. Probably not. No.
So this is all very exciting. I think you guys are kind of on this cutting edge. You've got crowdsourcing. You've got cryptocurrency. You're in the middle of the North Atlantic. It's an exciting time, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think also because it's a different project that a lot of people are interested in this, and we really enjoy that because we think we have something unique here, and it's really excited to tell other people about it and see that there's a lot of response on that.
Is the local community kind of supporting you too? Are you guys in the newspaper frequently? Are you in local radio? Are your friends all excited?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a small society, so everybody basically knows
how many
what we're doing. And sorry,
how many members are
there? The founding members.
Well, the Whisky Society that you were.
Oh, the Whisky Society. Well, we actually have we are more than 1,000 members.
Oh wow!
But of course for a regular tasting, there would be like 30, 40 people, because it's not
pretty good.
Same people. It's quite big. Yeah, the society.
I mean, you said 50,000 people in the Faroe Islands.
Exactly. It's a percentage.
You've got that's pretty damn good.
That's good.
That's really good.
When you consider that this is a very niche product.
Yeah.
You've got a very nice. You've got a good footing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you just sold bottles to your society, you do pretty well.
And we also have people supporting us that are saying I don't even drink whiskey, but I just think it's cool that something like this is happening in our society. So that's
cool.
That's a good attitude.
Is the goal initially when you're in production to export to the U.S. to the EU? Where do you want to start shipping to?
Well, our main markets would probably be the closest ones. So Europe, Scandinavia at first, but I don't know.
I mean, the American market is really big also. So since we are a craft distillery, I mean there is. I mean, our output is not that huge. So I think we will. Yeah, it depends also on which kind of distribution agreements we're getting in place before we do that, and we're working on that. And I think it will be quite different, the whiskey and the gin, because the gin market is completely different. There are so many different gin out there and so much competition that you have to find very competitive. You have to find some niche markets and niche distributors that think that this is really cool. We want that in our portfolio, and so we will probably be some small pockets around the world where we sell the gin. And the whiskey community is more is broader in that sense.
Do you guys have high end or is the cocktail market a big deal? Craft cocktails on the island? Do you have the higher end bars doing that kind of stuff, or is it not?
But it's not that big. I mean, actually, the local market is small. So of course it's important for us with the community backup, and of course it's also good income. But it's going to be a fairly small part of our market.
You got to get it off the island.
Yeah.
Export is where it's at from a business perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been a really great visit, really interesting and really fun. We wish you a lot of luck with this. This is a really interesting experiment you guys are attempting to get into, and we hope to talk to you again when you do have whiskey and do have gin.
We'll send you some samples over.
Oh, that'd be great.
Fantastic.
Happy to review.
So when do you think you'll actually be up and running and the distillery and everything? I think, what was the timeline?
1st of next year.
The plan is Yeah, the beginning of next year. Yeah, of course, we're a little bit dependent on the sort of delivery times of the different manufacturers, and they differ. So it depends a little bit on which type we select. But the plan is to start early next year with actual production. I mean, commercial production, where we will do the gin and get the whiskey first editions on the barrels.
Well, we'll definitely keep in touch because we want to follow you guys because this is an exciting little road you're taking here.
And most important, keep us in mind for the grand opening.
Yeah,
exactly.
We want to go there.
Yes, to come.
It looks like a wonderful place to live, and definitely,
it is.
And it'll be
beautiful.
a wonderful place to make whiskey, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're sure as well.
Guys, it was great. Boy,
thank you.
Happy birthday again.
Thank you for reaching out.
So much.
Thank you so much for
guys
for inviting us for a great show.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
It was great.
Thank you. Cheers.
Let me hang on one second here. Let's wrap this up.
Boy, he can go back to his birthday party.
Yeah. All right. All right, boys. Thank you very much.
Good night, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Oh. Oops. Wrong guy. Hey,
that was
fun. You to the green room for a second there.
There we go. That was fun.
That was good. That was interesting. I am intrigued.
I am totally intrigued.
Color me intrigued.
I'm always intrigued by distilleries in unique places.
I absolutely agree.
And it doesn't have to be far away places necessarily.
No.
Just unique places. And the Faroe Islands, from what we've, done our little investigation on the internet, it looks fascinating.
It looks spectacular.
It does. Yes.
It really does.
It looks, and it's bigger population-wise than we expected. 50,000 people, a lot of people.
It is.
I think it's going to be a really interesting journey for these guys and the way they're doing it. The crowdsourcing thing is interesting. The cryptocurrency thing is interesting. It'll be fun watching them grow, hopefully.
I'm fascinated. Mike and I had the Floki from Iceland.
Oh, right.
Which was done with the peat dung whiskey.
Yeah.
And that was actually very good. It was really, really delicious. And the Brennivin was really good.
The Brennivin, it's the same kind of thing, right? 200 years ago, you would have probably thought the same thing about Lefroy.
Yep. You would have been like, what the hell are you people doing?
What are you thinking?
What the hell is that crap? What is that smell? Oh.
You want to sell that to people to drink?
And now they've got, 800,000 members in the Friends of Lefroy, and they're revamping the whole project.
But, and they're and they are a craft distillery, right?
Yep.
There. And we've got 2,000 of those here in the States, and they all have a unique story to tell in some ways. Some don't, but most do. And a lot of it is because they just love whiskey and they want to make whiskey, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I want to make whiskey, but you know what? More than make it, I want to drink it.
Yeah, that's our thing. We're lazy.
It's more fun.
We don't want
Absolutely.
We want to drink.
We're promoters.
We're promoters.
We're showmen.
We're not working.
No, not at all.
But I'm just, it's a really exciting venture, I think, for them.
I think so.
And
it's interesting that, I guess they'd be considered a Scandinavian country.
Yeah. They're part of the marsh, they said.
So, the whole thing with, you've had the, what was the one in Sweden? The Macmyra.
Myra, yep.
And you've got in Iceland, they have, again, the Floki.
Yeah. There's actually quite a few in throughout Scandinavia. It's a growing area for distillation.
And then when we talked to Robin Tuchek, he's got a connection in Stockholm. So there's a big passion for whiskey in the Scandinavian countries.
I think if they only sold initially to the Scandinavian market, they probably do great.
Yeah,
I would think. Yeah.
And then branch out from there.
And then branch out, right? And they get a distributor, or exporter and distributor to the rest of the EU and Europe and the US. They'll be great. It always goes back to how's your whiskey taste. If it tastes good.
And in terms of first tastes, I call dibs.
Oh,
dibs.
Rats.
Dibs.
That seaweed gin sounds interesting, huh?
I'd like to try it out. I think it'd be kind of neat. It'd probably go well with your Topo Chico.
It would be. I think the intensity of the way they're explaining that, the intensity of that seaweed.
Yeah.
But spread out over a whole batch with juniper and whatever else they want to throw in.
I think it'd be
I
fun.
would be really intrigued by that.
I'm thinking like seaside, right? Like you go up to Maine, you do a little gin, a little Faroe Islands gin and tonic with some fresh seafood, a little nice haddock, or anything like that, or like a nice lobster roll. I'd be game for that.
I love the look of their distillery, the rendering.
Oh, that's cool.
Like crazy.
And you notice the grass on the roof, so I guess it's all for temperature control, whatever the whole story is with the grass roofs.
Yep. I think it's going to be a really interesting destination as well once they build out a distillery visitor center for locals and for folks coming to visit. And it looks like it's a fairly well-traveled tourist island. So for probably throughout the UK or throughout Europe. So we don't know of it so much, but I'm sure in Europe it's probably, hey, let's go to the Faroe Islands for wherever, Christmas vacation or something.
Why the hell not? Why the hell not?
Yeah,
I've been to a lot of those kind of places.
Yep.
So it's kind of cool.
Yep.
So anyway, sir, that was a pleasure. That was good fun.
Great. Another good trip down Whiskey Lane.
Exactly. So shall we roll the end credits?
We shall roll the end credits and say goodnight to all our booze dancing friends.
And most importantly of all, happy birthday to Bogi. And thank you again for telling us the story.
Of the Faer Isles Distillery and Faroe Islands.
Yep. All right, sir.
Cheers.
Let me roll the credits.
Happy Saturday.